Welcome back to Bridal University. I'm Ebony.
And I'm Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Ebony.
So this is episode 6.
Oh my gosh. I'm never going to get over hearing, like, the episode count.
I know. That's why I keep saying it. Do you have a favorite episode yet?
I really loved our last episode. I feel like we had a lot of fun with that one.
I like fun. So, yeah.
I do too.
Last episode was my favorite. Let us know what episode is your favorite, if you have a favorite.
Yeah.
Make sure you're actually watching all of them before you make your vote.
Yes.
So you should have watched 5 by now. So
better go catch up.
Gotta go catch up. We thank you for being here.
Yes.
If this is your first episode, but you gotta go catch up. You gotta see the evolution of
It's a big
Bridal
evolution.
University.
We've definitely figured out a lot of our sound issues now. Last episode sounded so good, in my opinion.
If I, do say so. Zoe, thank you.
Oh my gosh. I still haven't learned to stop hitting my microphone.
It was me at first, and
I know.
I feel like it's Zoe now.
I talk with my hands a lot more than I realize. But. All right, should we get into
today's episode?
Yeah. So somebody left a comment on our last video asking about how to plan a wedding with a smaller budget, how to be budget friendly for a wedding. So we thought this is a great episode to talk about that. We've kind of been talking a lot about dresses and trends and stuff like that. So now it's really time to get into the nitty gritty.
We had overall wedding.
Yeah. And we had to learn a lot too. So we've been doing some research and reading up to give you guys the best answers, because we know some stuff, but we don't know everything.
Yeah.
So
we definitely got some good resources out there, though. So we'll definitely share what we kind of looked at and all where we got our information. We got some good sources for you all. So
yeah, that'll be part of our ad read for today. So a lot of our information came from Wedding Realm. So stick around. You'll hear our little ad read from them.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you would kindly pass me the papers underneath.
Our little report.
Our little, welcome to Bridal University. We had a report due last week.
We had a report due. This is our presentation.
All right, so biggest thing about a budget is just setting expectations. We've talked about this specifically with dresses, but it's really important, like, as soon as you get engaged, if you're planning a wedding, to start thinking about how much is going to go into this and what kind of couple you guys are. If you're extravagant, if you're a little bit more down to earth, and what you kind of want to do with that. Like, I don't know,
your personality and like who you are as a couple, and should definitely show. Like, you don't want, obviously the bridal you is going to be like an elevated version of that, but also make sure that like who you are as a couple still shows through, you know, shines through. So
and, it's all, like I said, about expectations. So if you're someone who values, trying to get a home rather than the wedding, but you still want to do the wedding, think about timing, think about things like that, because, this is, as soon as you get engaged, this is the time to set expectations so things don't get messy towards the actual planning process.
Yeah, when you said that, I used to watch this show called Marriage or Mortgage. So it used to like sit down and the couple would have like $25,000 and they would go like look at homes that they could put that down as a down payment, or they would look at like wedding options and like venues and like different things they could do with it. And at the end they had to pick like marriage or mortgage. It's a really cute show. I like that. So something to think about, because like, yes, the show was definitely fun to watch, but it definitely left like an impression, like something to think about, after the wedding is over and everyone goes home and you have fun for those 6 hours.
Yeah.
You kind of
go back to your separate apartments.
To your real life. And you could be going home to a gorgeous house. But yeah, it's a cute show. You should watch it.
Yeah. No, I'm interested. But yeah, definitely think about where you are in life right now and what is going to matter to you most as a couple. I know a lot of people want that wedding experience, and you can have a wedding experience while also planning to get a house or get a place to live together. It's all about setting expectations. I'm going to say that a lot this episode.
Yeah, and like think about it too, like this person that you're marrying, I'm sure you had a journey, you have a story. Like, let that be the highlight of the day. Like, I think that people get so lost in the wedding process and like trying to prove things and like try to outdo Sarah's wedding from last year. And Sarah had this, and I want this. Like, when you get like away from the goal or like the objective of the, like, just make sure at the end of the day it's about your love, like between you and this person, and that it's that day is going to highlight that, and that's what that day should be about. So
I always think about that movie Bride Wars. Did you ever see that movie? I used to be obsessed with that movie, and how like competitive these two now like ex-best friends were, and it became less about their own weddings and more about like devolving the other ones.
I hear that a lot, like just in conversation sometimes, like with the others that are like sitting down when people bring other people to their appointment. And as the bride is changing, like someone's bringing up like, oh, remember at this wedding? Or her dress was like this. And I kind of hate that because I'm like, why are we talking about someone else's wedding right now? Like, I don't care what Sarah did or what Ashley did, what like, this is Bethany today. Like, let's focus on Bethany and what Bethany's vision is. And she doesn't have to outdo anyone. And, or like if someone like picks a dress and they're like, oh, that reminds me of like Ashley's dress. I'm like, can we not?
No. Or like when a bride really likes the dress and they're like, it kind of looks similar to this person's. And it's like, no, because it's this bride, different person, probably a different dress. There's like, so many different designers. Don't compare the bride to anybody, especially if she likes the dress.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, sure, it like looks familiar, but when you look at the lace, when you look at the detail, when you look at the beading, when you look at the cut, they're probably different dresses. Just to you, it looks like, because when's the last time you seen a wedding dress on someone? If that was the last wedding you went to, right?
Exactly.
Okay, we kind of got off.
Yeah, we got that. Your expectations are now set.
Yes.
So talk about priorities if you are going to be doing a wedding. Like, what do each person, like, what do you guys want in the wedding? Yeah. If you are a very music and dance-oriented couple, you might want to set aside a little bit more money to hire a high-quality DJ. If you're a couple that's more so into, like, the aesthetics and making things look pretty, then you're going to want to set aside more money for the decorations. If you guys don't want to end up doing a lot of the planning at all, you might want to set aside money for a wedding planner. So talk about your priorities, talk about, you know, where you can find middle grounds for each thing so each person can get what they want. And just kind of list that out. Another thing, too, is figuring out who's going to help pay with the wedding. If it's just you guys, if there's anything contributed from the parents, if anybody else wants to contribute to the wedding, just get like a full report of everything, you know, like, Mom, how much are you donating to the wedding? Dad, how much are you donating?
Yeah, and I think too, like, this is the time also to like lean on your support system. So if you have someone that's like in your friend group that's good at like planning events or like planning things, definitely like bring them along as you're like organizing and like asking Mom, asking Dad, maybe they can have like a running spreadsheet for you. I know like when me and Zoe are like planning things together, I'm more of like the in your face networking, like, you know, like making all the, and then like Zoe is that friend that like is very organized. She has her spreadsheets. As I'm talking, she's like has a whole Word document being like, so like if you have someone in your life that's like that, like both of those people are good, but like definitely make sure that you're using that as well so you can stay organized. And
you definitely need to find the balance between type A and type B. If you and your partner are the same and you're both type B, maybe you need to find a friend or a parent who's type A that can help keep you on track. Or if you're both type A's and you need someone to kind of bring out the fun in the wedding planning, you need to find someone that's a type B. So just consider personalities and who you want involved and who will be a good contribution to your planning. But last thing, as far as like planning everything out with the budget, is when to know when to save and when to splurge. So you obviously don't want to try to like save on certain things, but there are like, if you do wedding, you know, gifts or things like that, like little what are they called, like wedding favors or stuff like that. Don't go crazy with it. That's not something you need to spend a lot of money on. You're already inviting someone to your wedding and giving them food and an experience and all of that. Don't go crazy with like the favors and things like that.
And I think too, that's a fun like DIY kind of thing that you can do.
DIY
like,
anything you can.
Anything that you can like DIY. Like obviously you're not going to DIY your wedding dress, but like when it comes to like little
one girl did.
I was going to say, but let me not say that because I'm sure someone has. But this is what we're saying, like be definitely like think about what you want to DIY. But I think for like little favors, sometimes I've even seen like really cute like table arrangements. People DIY those. Like get creative. Like I think that's a way that you can like definitely save and budget. Like be creative, be open-minded.
Or find a friend that can for you.
Yeah.
You know. I think, you know, just figuring out the save splurge ratio and what percent of your budget you want to go to each vendor. You know,
That's
if
huge.
obviously you're someone that really values the venue and where you're getting married, you might want to put a lot of your budget towards that. If you're someone that really appreciates florals and you want a lot of florals in it, then you might need to dedicate more of that. So just kind of doing like a breakdown. Like I said, getting that full report together so you have a general idea of your limits and your you know, all of that, so you can just focus on finding people that fit into that budget rather than trying to figure out what your budget can be for someone else.
Yeah, and I think like too, like if you and your partner that's getting married, if you all are like foodies, you're gonna probably spend more money on food. Where I know like some people, I've heard them joking, like I know the food isn't gonna be that great, but I don't care. I'm not like paying for people to have a great dinner. Like so, like certain things just matter to like certain you know people. So,
all right. Now we're going to dive into some ways to cut costs, some creative ideas, some just really smart tips in general. We got some of this from our research, but some of it is also, I feel like, just obvious. Like the big one we just said, DIY whatever you can.
Yeah.
Just get on Pinterest. If you don't have a Pinterest yet and you're a bride-to-be, get on Pinterest. Like,
what are you doing?
Pinterest is making a big comeback. I saw a Pinterest ad the other day. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever. Pinterest is like definitely like a last thought, but like when you think of like weddings or like certain things, Pinterest kind of like it's not your everyday thing to use, but like wedding planning, I think of Pinterest, so that makes sense. Pinterest
wedding planning, a lot of them will either have links to buy things or they'll have instructions on how to DIY. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun things you can find on there, and I know a lot of people like have their own personal one, and then they just create a bunch of boards that relate to their wedding so they can kind of find what they need. And I think that's a really good thing to have in general, even if you're not DIYing, but you just like certain things, because then you can go to your vendors and be like, this is my expectation, this is what I would like for my wedding, can you do this, you know? And it gives them a visual rather than saying, I think I want the red kind of flowers.
Yeah. Or what kind of flowers do you offer?
Yeah. You can just show them and be like, this is what I want. I like this picture. You know? And that just kind of helps you visualize the wedding. It helps the vendors visualize what you're looking for. It's just overall helpful for everybody to have a visual. And if you're not a Pinterest person, even just saving pictures from the internet on your phone or something like that.
I think I had a tip one week that kind of ties into this. I know that when we were saying like when you're trying on wedding dresses, how videos help more than pictures. I think also too, this is definitely one of those examples as well, because I think if you go on YouTube, you can go on YouTube and just look at weddings, and like I think that's cool that you can just type in weddings and like look at people's wedding from like beginning to end, because there's so many things as you're writing this list you're gonna forget. How people have like bows on the end of the rose, like, right? You're not going to think that one, but maybe that's your aesthetic. So just go on YouTube and type in weddings and like watch different weddings. And I think that that's also cool to get ideas from too. So
going off of that, videoing any places that you like want to go to, like the venue. Video your venue. Don't go around and just take pictures of like what few spots. Do
Walk
a video tour.
Yeah.
Some places have video tours on their website, so you can also just use that. But if they don't, take videos, so then like if you agree to that venue, now you have videos and you can kind of plan out the space a little better. It gives you an idea of what you're working with. Even just if you go to like the florals or anywhere else, any vendor really, cake, whatever, get videos instead of pictures. It'll give you a more 3D view of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
All right, should we go into our next tip, I guess?
Sorry, can we pause?
Okay, so our next tip is about when to book your wedding. So like what day of the week is going to be more expensive and what day of the week is going to be less expensive. So if you think about it, most weddings happen on weekends. Weekends are typically more expensive for any sort of venue because they'd have to, have people come in on off days, things like that. It's usually a lot easier for the guests to come on weekdays or weekends too. So they know that, and they know that that's why they can kind of bring the price up. But really, if you're looking for something cheaper, a weekday, so Monday through, I'd say Thursday. Would be the better day to book because it's not a very common time. It's, during the week, during business hours. So it might be a little cheaper depending on where you go. Another thing about venues, if you do a religious venue, it's usually a lot cheaper too. And then move to like a reception hall, things like that to consider when you're thinking about your
like
actual...
a church, like getting married in a church or like a...
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But I don't think it's necessarily that bad to do it on a weekday. I think you just have to consider time in that. You wouldn't want to do it at a weekday at like 12 because most people probably wouldn't be able to make it. But if you did an evening wedding on a weekday,
it could be like a dinner, like a
or if it happens to be a smaller wedding and you can do a during the day wedding, then you can do that too. It all depends on your guests and what works for you guys.
And I guess if you tell them, early enough, they can like take off or like do whatever they need to do. So
yeah. Exactly. So think about that when you're thinking about venues and things like that. Talk to your venue vendors. That's a fun word, venue vendors.
Venue vendors.
But talk to them about pricing and, would a weekday be easier on my budget than a weekend? And sometimes there might be no difference, and sometimes there might be huge differences. It's all depending on what your venue is able to do.
Yep. And then going off of that too, time is a huge thing that plays a part. So like maybe you want to do like a brunch instead of a dinner, because that time slot between like 12-5 seems to be like a little cheaper than like an evening wedding. So you also want to like, that's an option as well if you're trying to save.
Yeah, because if you think about it, timing is the biggest thing is meals. If you're paying for a 2 to 3 course meal, that's gonna cost a lot more than, let's say, hors d'oeuvres and lunch snacks, things like that. So that's something to consider. Like you said, it depends on how food oriented you are. If you really want a dinner, and you're willing to pay for a dinner, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But
it's all on what you're willing to pay for.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
That's what it really comes down to. Like, you can have whatever you want. Just be ready to pay.
Yep. Expectations. I'm gonna say it again. Set your expectations.
Whenever, like, you can literally plan a dinner, right? And it could be one price. As soon as you say, like, a wedding rehearsal dinner, prices are gonna like literally like triple,
skyrocket.
Yeah, so just remember that, like, you can pay for a face of makeup just for a regular day, but as soon as you say like wedding, put wedding at the beginning or end of anything, prices are just gonna like go up. So keep that in mind.
Something else that you just remind me of, reception. You can save money by doing a smaller reception, or like doing it at, a location that you're familiar with, a family's house, something like that. You don't have to go out and splurge and do something crazy.
Or what if everyone just meets up and goes out at the same place? Like, just all go out to the lounge after, like, whatever you were going to do for your reception.
Yeah.
Just tell everyone to meet you somewhere and do it.
Or do a brunch and not a dinner.
Like,
or do it with a smaller group, things like that. But like you said, I think as soon as you tack on the wedding word, everyone's like, oh, it's a wedding, so there's money involved.
Just be like, oh no, I'm just having a get together, party. Like, Don't tell them it's a reception for a wedding. No, I'm just kidding.
Just say we're
Just show up in a wedding dress.
25 of us are meeting for a random
A
lunch,
meeting.
dinner.
And just show up there with a wedding dress and tux and, you know.
Yep. But, you know, there's certain things that if you're willing to sacrifice, you know, going cheaper on it, it can save you a lot of money. So that's something else to consider. Like the traditional events and things that you do, you know, bachelorette party. Do you really need to go travel to Vegas or to,
like, yeah.
you know?
Or can you, like, go to your friend's house who has a lovely backyard and a fire pit and a hot tub? And
Does a family friend have a beach house somewhere that you can rent for a smaller price, you know?
That's, like, maybe out of town, like, an hour away. Like, you can still get that experience.
Yeah.
Or even, like, say if you live in, like, a smaller town and they have, like, a bigger city near you, like, so you don't have to fly and get a hotel, but you can still have a night out in the city and then come home, or just be creative.
I feel like a lot of people around here do that because we're located in the Northeast. A lot of people will go to, like, New York. So I feel like that's something to consider. And yeah, New York's going to be expensive, but it's not going to be as expensive as airfare to a whole new location.
Exactly. And if you didn't want to stay over, you know, like, be responsible. But, like, if you want to go out and come back home, take the train. You know, there's so many options. So just explore all.
Yeah. And yeah, still have fun and do what you want, but just keep in mind, like, you know, whatever you do is going to be fun if you're with the right people, if you have the right partner, things like that. So don't worry about, like, trying to blow all these people out of the water with these big, huge things, because I'm sure most of them are just excited to have the opportunity to be a part of your wedding or to be with you.
Yeah, and, like, sometimes you spend all that time trying to impress people, and literally when the event is done, they go back and go live their lives. The next day they wake up and they'll probably talk about it, probably for, like, 3 or 4 days, but after that, these are your memories. Like, yes, like, the people in your lives, they're gonna have these memories, but they're not gonna be as big and monumental as it is for you, because it's your wedding, it's your event, it's yours. So, like, keep that in mind, please.
Yep. Do what makes you happy. All right, next tip kind of ties into what we talked about last week, or my little tangent that I went on about florals. Flowers can take up, like,
so much,
10% of your budget.
So much.
We'll talk about, like, pricing and stuff to expect in our next episode, but for now we're just giving tips on how to save money with the weddings. But buy flowers that are in season, because you don't want to get any flowers that are out of season and then have anything, you know, cost twice as much because they have to grow it or get it from somewhere else, you know? So just save, you know, time. Look at what flowers are in season in your area where you're getting married and the time of year that they're in season, and then choose those flowers, because it's going to be a lot cheaper for the florist to be able to get those than to have to get a flower that's popular in the spring for a fall wedding. If you just get fall or annual flowers in the fall, that won't cost as much.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like that tip. That's huge. And I know silk flowers are, like, not as popular, but I've seen some really nice ones that, like, kind of look real. And not saying for, like, your bouquet or something, but maybe for those flower decorations that aren't, like, key or, like, center, and they're, like, kind of far off and, like, just in the background or just playing a part. Don't be afraid to, like, use those as well, because you can save the, like, real and fresh flowers for, like, the main, you know, aesthetic, and then, like, maybe as a filler or something like that. So, you know, get creative with that too.
Yep. Definitely figure out where you can sneak in those little things to cut costs. But yeah, that's our floral tip. Our next tip is to look for items at the end of wedding season. So a lot of stores, places, things like that will have excess items from weddings that they kind of need to get rid of. So you can call local shops and see, like, you know, are your out of season items available? Are they on clearance? Things like that, because that's a good time to get it because nobody's really going to be using them.
Yeah, even if you have like a local wedding planner that you know of everyone using, and like maybe they need new stuff, so they're selling some older things that are like, to us, we wouldn't know that it's like not in season, or but you know they're wedding planners, so they know more. Definitely check and see, because maybe they know people. Definitely networking. Like, everything is really about networking. Like, see if they know people, if you know people. Like, I think that word of mouth is definitely huge in anything, but especially here. Like, you can, friends who have gotten married, you know, what did they use? Who did they use? Did they rent it from someone? Maybe like they know of renting certain items. So
Yeah. Another big tip relating to that is join Facebook pages. So if you're someone that uses Facebook, this is a great tool to connect with other brides who've had their wedding and now no longer need all 18 table displays. You know, maybe they want to keep one. Like, but it's a great place to just find people offloading items. And sometimes you'll have to pay for them. I'd say most times the brides are trying to sell them to earn something back. But it's going to be a lot cheaper than trying to either get all the supplies to do it yourself, and it's already made, or it's going to be a lot cheaper than hiring someone to make them for you.
Yeah, for sure. That's like huge. Use social media, because a lot of times after these brides are done for their big day, they're going to be trying to get some money back.
Yeah, or just trying to get it out of their house. So definitely check those out. I know we've joined a few groups to like find other vendors and to meet up with people, but really a lot of the Facebook pages we've joined are just brides being like, hey, these are my centerpieces for my wedding. We don't really need them anymore, obviously, because the wedding has passed. Like, they're $10 a piece. We're just trying to get rid of them. Or sometimes people will be like, I need these out of my house now. Please take them. They're free. You know,
like, actually, they'll be on the curb when you pull up. You don't. You got to ring the doorbell.
Thrown up there. So that's a good tool, I think, to find, you know, small items and things like that that can end up, you know, having a lot of cost behind it, but you can, you know, get it secondhand. And as long as you don't mind that, then it's a really cool way to save money. And, you know, now that item has been a part of 2 very happy days. I've already had good luck with one, so now you get to have some of that good luck too.
For sure. And like, you can like revamp them in your own way, like with some ribbon or a different color, or do whatever. Like, you know, it's just another chance for another DIY.
Exactly. So. Yeah, you can add your own touches to it. So
stay open-minded. I feel like in order to save money, right, and to cut back on budget, I feel like rule number 1, be open-minded.
Yes.
Like, I feel like they have to go hand in hand in this. So
if you're a bride that wants to get a wedding for cheap but has all these high expectations. I want a ballroom. I want a clean dress with all this nice fabric. I want all of these flowers. Don't expect your wedding to be cheap at all.
The world is yours. Like, you can have whatever you want, but you're gonna pay for it. Like, you're gonna pay. You can have everything.
Again, with these custom dresses, I'm gonna say it one more time. This is gonna be like our thing.
You're gonna hear about a custom dress probably one time each episode.
Yeah. It happens all too often where they're like, do you have this dress? I'm like, no, somebody had it made. But if you, you know, I use this example with the dress. If you are looking for something glitzed out, super crazy, blah, 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 and you're expecting to pay $1,000 for it, that's just not going to happen. Same thing with flowers. If you want 10 bouquets and you want them for the price of one, not going to happen. You have to set your expectations, because you need to understand that these people need their money too. It's hard work to put together a whole bouquet for a wedding.
Yeah.
It's hard to set up an entire venue. Don't cut anybody else's cost or their, you know, income short because you don't want to pay them.
I love that. Yeah, you got to pay people for what they do, especially if they do it great. Like, you know, like, you definitely want, like, this is someone's life. This is someone's skill. This is someone's passion. Like, you don't want to come off offensive, kind of wheeling and dealing in that way, because it does, you are coming off as, you know, you just want to save money, but that could be offensive to someone. Like, like a photographer, like you do photography, I do makeup. Like, you don't want to go through someone's makeup page, right? And like look at all these beautiful faces. Like, I know you charge like $150, but I got $75. Like,
That's half of what I make.
what are you saying about my time? What are you saying about my skill? What are you saying about my passion? Like, so like definitely just keep all that in mind. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I want to add on to, if you are working with any sort of vendor and you guys establish a great connection and they feel that it's right to give you a discount, please don't take that for granted.
and tip them.
Tip.
I feel like I said that so angrily. I'm sorry.
No, it should be. You should
But,
tip
like,
them.
Tip them. Like, I feel like people, yes, will work with you and give you discounts. Show them that you appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, show them that, like, you care about what they're doing and their time and their energy and effort and skill. Like, tip them.
Tip them, or write reviews. Give references. Like if you have a friend that's getting married, reference that place that you got married at or the flowers that you got, because if you really like them and you got that great connection and they were able to give you a discount, don't forget them,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of times here we try to step out of our way to do things for brides, and I feel like sometimes it doesn't go noticed, and we're just trying to make somebody happy, and it's fine, if we aren't made happy back because it's part of our job. But at the end of the day, a thank you, or like if you go and write a review for us, that means like the world, honestly.
It literally, like, yes, reviews look great, to like promote your business, but to see like when our team gets a great review, it matters. Like, yes, on the back end, you're helping us grow and you're helping people learn more about us. But like, imagine when you leave a great review for a stylist, because like, yes, you're telling them in person, but it means so much more that like you went home and you thought about your experience again and you took the time to take those 5 extra steps to like look up the website, go to put a review, write all these wonderful things, and then submit it. Like, that means so much more. So just think about the little things that you could do through the process to like pay it forward, Like,
I love it. For me, what fulfills me a lot too is when brides remember us and send us their pictures. So some vendors do like that. Some vendors, don't really care as much about it. But even just stopping in and saying like thank you and giving them a picture so they can use it on their website, do whatever with it.
Love that. Like, if you're my bride and you're watching this, because I think that people get so used to like, they think we just say things, you know what I mean? Like, have a great day. Like, everyone says that, the kindness in heart, like, oh, like, make sure you show us your pictures. No, we really mean it from the bottom of our hearts.
Yes.
Like, we love to see our brides because like, we're a part of this day. Like, we sold you that dress. Like, that's so cool to see it like in the bigger picture and like things that you came in and described and like showed us some little pieces of it. To see it all come together, we get so excited. We love it. Like, trust me. So
We do love it. I just got, I think, about 15 photos from brides I put on the Instagram page for the bridal salon that I work for. I said, can old brides please send in their pictures? We'd love to see them. We're trying to put up a picture wall. And it was just so overwhelmingly awesome, the amount of brides that not only set their pictures, but said something really sweet about the stylist they work with or the
it's a
store.
reconnection. Like, it's so cute. I saw that you did that at your place, and I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can help me do that at my shop too. Cause
people, if you ask them, they love sharing their wedding photos. They really do. And if you give them the chance to do that,
oh yeah,
or even the reminder, I feel like sometimes they do want to send us pictures, but I feel like the craze after the wedding kind of can be a lot. But just that reminder, like, hey, send us your pictures. We want to put them up in our store. We love our brides. Like, I think that's really nice, and I think it's really good morale for the stylists too, to see like all the happy brides up in the store. It's great for the brides coming in because they can see we have these great connections. So I kind of went off on a tangent here, but
no, but I'm telling you, like, when I saw that you did that at your store, I was like, I think I'm gonna steal that. When I see Zoe, I'm gonna ask her to help me do that over here. So no, I love that. That was such a cute idea because like even when you're walking through and say you had a tough appointment and you look at this board and you see one of your brides that you had like a couple months ago and like it kind of just refocus you and like refreshes you. And so I think it's good.
I think it's great. So
cute.
I think some vendors would be really happy if you guys gave them photos or reviews or anything like that. It warms our heart, and I think they would also enjoy it. Depending on, I mean, not depending on who they are. I think anybody enjoys a nice
Anybody
review.
that's in this field should.
Hi guys, it's time to take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Wedding Realm. Wedding Realm is a comprehensive directory of wedding vendors that keeps growing daily. They help people visualize their wedding like never before. On Wedding Realm, you are able to discover esteemed small businesses that may be hard to find, as well as large, well-known establishments. You can use this website to help plan your wedding, find vendors, and for those of you that are vendors out there, you can use this to connect with people searching for you. A huge thank you to Wedding Realm for sponsoring this video, and now we're going back to the podcast.
All right, next tip for budget is avoiding open bars. So, but again, this is one that depends what kind of bride you are.
Yeah, depends on your people, depends on your friend group.
Yep.
I know like some people love that because like it gets the party going but you also want to keep that in mind. It gets the party going, and depending on who you have, I know that there's some family members I would be scared to have them at an open bar.
Well, open bars too are just expensive in general because you're paying for the liquor, you're paying for the bartender, you're paying for the service, everything like that. It kind of gets really expensive. So something that I read a lot about was that people, instead of doing an open bar, will just do beer and wine.
Yeah, and like a signature drink. Like I've seen that a lot, like where you come up with a name, like maybe it's like, you know, a spin or like off the last name or something, but you kind of create it together and it's like your signature drink for the night.
So just think about that, and you know, you want to treat the people that are there, but you also don't want to go crazy. Bartenders in general can cost quite a bit, and that's something to keep in mind too, depending on how many guests are at your party. If it's a wedding where it's only 50 people, it's probably going to be less.
Yeah.
But if it's a wedding of 200 people, you're probably going to have to pay that bartender more because of the amount of people that they will be serving and making drinks for. It might need 2 bartenders. They might, you know, so that's something to keep in mind if you're really truly trying to save costs.
Yeah, that's a huge saver right there.
So, next one is limit your guest list. I know a lot of people want a lot of people at their wedding. I know that's something, you know, you want the most people to come and be able to enjoy it. But again, this is where the priorities come into play.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about how many people and what you can afford, that's a really big thing, because the more people that are at your wedding, the more meals you have to pay for, the more drinks you have to pay for, the more seats you have to pay for, the more space you have to pay for.
Yeah.
So even if you're adding on an extra 15 guests, that might hike up your price quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I was watching a reel today of a bride. Like, I guess there's a new trend, and I'm like, I missed it on my trend episode. But there's a trend of like things that brides are like just writing down a list of 10 things that like won't be tolerated at their wedding. And she said no plus ones for everyone, and that made sense. She was like, of course, if you're married, yes, you get a plus one. Of course, if like you've been dating someone for a long period of time and we know them. But like, I think to have a plus one for everyone that you're inviting, I do like when she said that, I was like, oh, that's true, because like she's like, you're not just gonna like go to Tinder and like ask some random person like, hey, you want to be like
that happens.
Yeah, like you want to be my date to this wedding, and like you bring someone who like doesn't know the bride, doesn't know the groom, and is just like there for like a date. I'm like, I kind of get that, so that's something to think about too. Like,
no plus ones.
Yeah,
but
no plus ones, and unless you're like married
again
in a great long.
Then you invite both of them, and you already know that they're together. But
yeah, if you're single and like just why would you just get a random date for someone's wedding?
Yeah, weird.
Weird.
But anyways, so that's a big tip, I think, is guest list, because each guest can cost a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
So consider that. Okay, next one would be, the cake hack. Okay, I like this one. So cakes can be expensive, especially for a wedding, thinking about all the details, the actual cake itself. So apparently people are taking styrofoam and decorating it like a cake, so they'll bring it to a baker and have them do it, or a person who does art or stuff like that, and then they'll serve like behind the scenes like store-bought cake, and most people apparently don't know the difference. So
I was about to say, have you ever seen that show, Is It Cake, I think it's called?
Yeah.
And like you do like a fake one and like a real one, and you got to figure out that's actually pretty cool, because who knows, like it's like that.
How would you know?
How would you know?
Yeah.
How would they ever know? How would they know?
But I think that's really smart, and I am one who loves store-bought cake. Like, I much prefer that like cheap frosting over like that thick buttercream. So I like that hack. I think that's really smart, because then you can get a really beautiful decorated cake and not have to pay for any of the materials except frosting.
And you can ask the lady in the bakery to write with the ice.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's funny. But yeah, I think that's a smart hack. If you don't want to go crazy with cake and desserts and stuff like that, if you want to do like a little dessert bar.
A little dessert table, dessert bar, and have like little bite size. Like I've seen like cookies, little bite sized cheesecakes, little cupcakes, little pastries. Like you can get fun. And then there's something for everyone, because not everyone likes cake, like you can have like options and a variety. Brownies, so yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's something to think about. Dessert, cake, all of that stuff. I like this one. I think that one's cute. Think of people in your life who can help with a certain aspect of the wedding. So we talked about someone that can DIY. But if you have a friend who runs a photography business, why don't you see, some friends might be like, no, I don't want to photograph your wedding, because then I won't be able to be like a part of it and sit with you guys. But some of them might really want that experience to be like, I was the one that took the photos for your wedding. Go around and ask and see, maybe if your friend doesn't want to do it, but somebody else in their business wants to come by and do it, then, they can keep an eye on it. Yeah. For you have a friend that makes cakes. Ask them if they want to make a cake for your wedding. If you have a friend that does makeup, does invitations, has a Cricut machine, whatever. If you have people that can help.
With Canva.
Canva, yeah. So reach out to friends. I think this is the perfect time, like you said, to lean on the people close to you. And I think a lot of people really just love to be a part of the wedding process in general. I feel like me personally, I'm always like a little bit nosy, like, oh, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with that? What's going on with your wedding?
And that could be a cool way for them to because you don't even have to ask them to do it for free, but if they were going to give you like a wedding gift, instead of you giving me a gift, how about you just do this and we call it even, right?
Yep.
You might get a gift anyway.
Yeah, just be transparent when you're talking about it. Don't be like, I'm not trying to cut corners. I want, to just support you. And if their friend happens to
say because that happens because, right? Like, okay, so I would pay you and then you would give me a gift. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, just make sure you're having those conversations at the end, after they're done the service. Be like, well,
Yep.
Yeah, because you might not have a friend after that.
Okay, I got two last things here. So this one I feel like is a very common one, but host the wedding in a familiar place. So mom's backyard, or, dad's best friend has a really beautiful rural cabin in this area with big open space, and you could totally get married there. Things like that. Places that people that because a lot of the times they might charge you, but if it's, a family friend. But a lot of times, if you just say, can I be there to watch it over, whatever, things like that, usually they'll give you a good deal.
Yeah.
So definitely seek out all of those options before you go to the bigger venues. If, like I said, you're really trying to cut costs, I think that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah. And also to wherever you live, maybe there's a cute park or somewhere that you can use public, if you're not having a lot of people, obviously you don't want to show up to a park with like 100 people that day and be like, oh yeah, we're getting married.
Yeah.
But you know, just be creative. It's the part of being creative too. So.
Yep. So my last tip here, I don't really know if it's a tip or not. I guess more like something that I've seen people do is instead of like a wedding registry or like, you know, asking for specific gifts, they'll ask for money to go on their honeymoon or money to go towards, you know, paying towards the wedding or something like that to pay back the wedding.
Yeah.
If you're someone that already has like a house full of items, you don't really need to ask for more glasses or for more plates or things like that. So I think it's smart to just be like, hey, we want to go on a honeymoon, but we weren't able to afford it with the wedding and everything else that we have going on. So if you want to support us to go on our honeymoon, you know, that might be a better way to do it. You can do it online fundraising, and then people can just pay through there if they're a guest. Or you can just be like, stuff $100 in a check, and, you know.
I've even seen sometimes on like the table arrangements or like things, they'll have like a little like Cash App, or you know how you can scan it and it comes up and you can just, so say if you forgot to like, or even if you're
code.
there and or I've seen instead of like tipping the bartender, you can like something like that where you can like just pay, I don't know, but yeah, where you can just kind of give them money and give to the fundraiser right there, even if you're at the wedding. So
Ebony dropped something.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's kind of all we have for today.
Yeah, I think that he gave you so much information. Definitely, if you just watch this through for fun, but say if you're like a bride that's getting married, maybe go back and take some notes throughout, you know, the episode. Go back and like really listen to it, because I think we dropped some gems today, if I must say so myself.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right, we gotta end with
A
question. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Should I hire a wedding planner?
Ooh, I love this question.
We'll get into it more next week when we talk specifically about vendors and pricing and all of that stuff. Today was more about budget, but just to kind of lead into it. What do you think? If you were having a wedding, would you hire a wedding planner?
No. I personally wouldn't, because I have such an amazing support system out there. But no, I have, no. I know that there's someone that's like my right hand that would like be doing everything for me. Like, so no. They wouldn't even allow me to have a wedding planner. No. No.
Yeah, like we've been saying, I think it depends on the couple. I think a lot of people don't need wedding planners. I think a lot of people are very capable of doing a lot of the stuff on their own. But if you are someone who, let's say, works over 40 hours a week, you and your partner, maybe you're both lawyers, maybe you're both doctors, maybe you both just have no time on your hand to plan the wedding, but you still want the wedding to happen, that's a good scenario where you might need a wedding planner and someone to just kind of pick up the slack and step in and coordinate everything for you, so you can just do your job, relax, and wait for the big day.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's like based off of your personality too.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to be a perfectionist and like super bridezilla about everything, then get a wedding planner, because no one's going to want to help you with that type of energy. And like if your expectations are like through the roof and you're going to be like calling them and driving them crazy, get yourself a wedding planner and pay someone to deal with that.
Yeah. I think it's good too if you're nervous about talking to vendors and signing contracts. Wedding planners sometimes can be good to be like brought on to help with that stuff. But if you don't need someone to like coordinate the big day, I've heard a lot of times where wedding planners will be hired like in sections of the wedding. So, but we'll learn more next week.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. I hope to our listener who commented on our last video that this was helpful for you. Shout out to you.
Shout out to you for listening and leaving that comment. Like,
yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is the end of today.
It is.
And we will see you next week for
week.
episode 7.
What?
Crazy.
7?
7? 7's my lucky number, so it'll be good. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. See you next time.